is going on YouTube. This is Acid Root. So this is part 16 of the beef ravioli run as far as this is going to happen. So within this particular episode, we're going to exit the ice dungeon here and get towards the next segment of like the final dungeon, particularly going against these bosses one by one within these pitches as far as this format is going to happen. So the last boss was the stone golem, which was the rendition of the goal. I really don't remember his full bound the beginning half of the game, and pretty much like the first three dungeons with, for the most part, just within the pitch as far as saying. I guess I remember in certain portions there being like some sort of skull dragon for like the desert pyramid and pitches like that, but kind of looking after I guess it was kind of an ice golem that was part of the ice pyramid as far as what's supposed to happen. That's the one I don't remember is full bound within the pitch, but I do remember the volcano being the dragon as far as what's supposed to happen. So it's just in the pitch as far as saying. Now obviously these dungeons here are just like a brief kind of revisit to them. Is not nearly as chaotic as it was back in like the actual saga with getting the crystals. Was just within the pitch as far as saying there's a few fights here and then getting to the boss, and that basically takes care of it. So that's the essence what I suppose that the next few are going to be with getting past like the Wind Tower boss, and then eventually fighting the Dark King. Now, I'm not as full sure if there's going to be a dungeon for the Dark King, but I just going to question the concept as far as to what particularly happens. So we're just going to get towards it here. So in this episode, I think we at least get to the boss, but it's just kind of the concept as far as saying I wanted to be particular because I realized I was using my old phone for the particular gameplay here. I just would have to kind of say and stuff. I didn't want to, so I used my newer phone for like the pitch and getting like the next footage within it because I didn't want to have what happened where it just shorts out and I defeat the boss without showing the footage like what almost happened last time. So it's just within the pitch as far as saying we're going to get towards some of this here. Yeah, just basic conduct, just get some good goodies going within some of those type of aspects. It's the same sort of fare like I was saying in the community post, if you saw that recently. It's the same sort of pitch as far as me just saying and stuff that eventually once I estimate that there will be at least one more of these beefy type ones with an aspect of it here depending upon how much gameplay is left. But this is, I mean, this one's 10 minutes right here, and then the next gameplay segment that finishes off the dragon boss is pretty much like another 8 or 10 or 11 minutes somewhere in there. So that'll surface soon enough. I just looked at the format as far as saying just getting towards it. Yeah, some good stuff here. These particular, like, three-headed dogs, the Cerberus type dudes, they're actually pretty, like, they actually wiped me out a couple of times within the pitch behind. I was kind of within, I don't know if I filmed that, but it's kind of within the pitch as far as saying that there was, like, a particular playthrough where I was playing this where those guys actually defeated me a couple of times within the pitch behind us. It's kind of the format as far as saying that it's just the pitch as far as getting towards like the concept of like, I mean, you have to be particular. Maybe I don't remember. I can't remember as full bound what happened within the pitch behind it, but it's just the pitch as far as saying that those particular enemies are kind of I mean, it is reached a point. I do kind of feel like level 30, and I mean, the game seems to think that level 34 is a high enough ratio to be able to tackle the final dungeon, but still within the pitch as far as saying that you pay attention to the concept that these particular enemies, depending upon what they do, I mean, it's definitely good to only have one enemy to attack because particularly, I don't know if it was this boss or if it was the stone golem that gave me problems. It's just kind of the pitch as far as saying that it's just the format. Like the stone golem was definitely pretty powerful, but I think the dragon obviously was pretty powerful as well. So it's just the pitch that you have to get into like a rhythm. That's the key towards it, is just having like a good rhythm of just attacking with one character, having the heal spell for one, and then attacking with that same character and then healing yourself within the pitch as far as those formats can happen. So it's just the pitch as far as getting towards the format of just having to, I mean, there may be like the occasional turn or something like that where you can attack with both characters, but I think for the most part, considering that usually the strength of some of these enemies is pretty rough within the aspects, it's kind of the tangent as far as saying that it's just pretty much one character out of the two will probably get to attack like the main enemy. But by this stage, you should just be using the white spell pretty often. I think that's like one of the strongest spells in the game. I thought about using like Meteor and some of those type of ones, but for the most part, it feels like white is the strongest spell within the pitch as far as just being able to blockade them with a pretty whopping type hit. And it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying it works effectively well in the dragon boss. I question, like, I mean, I think within the these magic spells do have I realize within the pitch, it's kind of I don't want to say it's drab to watch the same attack over and over again, but the pitch behind it is if you do use other attacks and it doesn't damage them and just kind of waste a turn as far as getting them to be able to attack you within the format as far as saying that it you basically have to start over and lose some of your items. That's the main thing. I mean, I want to get this game beaten already. I mean, it's been 7 years now. It's been since 2018 that this save file has been around. So it's just going to pitch as far as saying we got to get this taken care of. I realized this for like the ratio. I probably would have beaten this probably back in 2022 if I'd had a little bit extra gumption. But I don't know. For some reason, I got jet lagged in 2022 as well. Don't know what was going on with that particular format of it. But we're going to get this game beaten here. There's really only 2 more bosses. I'm going to get to that gameplay within a relative soon fashion within some of those I pitched. So it's just the format as far as saying. But yeah, those three three-headed dogs, which I guess there would have been nine heads of dogs to fight as far as those pitches can happen. So 3 Cerberus is triple trouble within some of those formats, but just being able to say within those pitches that particularly that wasn't the boss. It felt like that was an annoying enemy, and like I said, I don't know if I like got defeated in that particular battle. It's just a pitch as far as saying that it's paying attention that we do have to. I was kind of getting confused in this particular dungeon as far as those first can happen, but I figured it out as far as those first kind of went. So yeah, it's just the pitch behind it. So yeah, it's just I was questioning if I could use like the hook shot to be able to attack that enemy from over there, but it's not what you do. You basically fight that. That's an enemy that you have to fight once you defeat the boss as far as what's first going to happen. It's just a shortcut to get out of here once you defeat the boss. It's kind of the pitch. So, yeah, just a little bit of backtracking within the format of it, but I do figure it out. I think we do at least get to the boss by the end of this episode, something like that. But I mean, it's not so much rocket science, this particular area. It's just kind of the pitch that it just is mildly confusing, just kind of a mild kind of brain bender to kind of have within those aspects. It's just like, hey, do you remember some of these segments? It's kind of a brief reminder that this game is kind of somewhat of a douche at times. I mean, not douche in terms of being like a horribly stupid game, but just the pitch is just kind of like a kick in the rear as far as just being a douchebag about it. But it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying, so that's the tone. But you not really necessarily figure out is what to do with it, so this is kind of the format. But and then I finally did. It was just kind of the pitch as far as getting at least I think I did within the pitch behind it. So that's the fair yeah, I think that was the concept. That just kind of happens through the format of it. So yeah, but the boss is just right over there as far as those pitch kind of happen. So it's just the basic aspects. So I look after it just within the format. So yeah, this is just I mean, there's still a healthy portion of this game left over. I would think if you're thinking that we're in like the home stretch of the game, I'd say we're definitely near that bend as far as those pitch going to go, but it's not within the aspect as far as saying there's not any life left in this game. There still is a little bit. Probably it's a good fashion that if you have a pizza being cooked right now, something like that, just there's probably at least another 50 minutes left in this game, something like that, including, I mean, yeah, there's, like I said, there's still 3 more boss fights, including, like, the dragon boss that you're going to see in the next episode. So there's 3 more big boss fights to get to, plus the credits and some fairs like that. And I just would have to say, in terms of, like, what to expect with the ending, I just had to say kind of within the format as far as saying, I mean, I imagine that the ending, I've seen it. I've seen, like, at least Capri Sun or some of those type folks beat this particular game, but I just don't remember because it's been since like probably 2013 or 2014, somewhere in there. But it's just kind of within the format as far as saying that just paying attention to those pitches about it, that's just kind of the main fare. So I just look after within the tone that I don't think like this character is going to go off and like I don't know, it's just the pitch. I mean, it's just one of those typical type formats. I mean, you get the fact that Zone is probably just going to save the world and then just go back to his hometown, and it's just probably like within the same format like you would think when you think of like a Zelda game or something like that. When you think of like those games, I mean, within certain depictions, sometimes it depicts that Link becomes like a king or something, but it's kind of within the format. He typically just goes back to his village and then, you know, just lives happily ever after within those formats kind of it. But it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying that's probably what's going to happen with Zone. Zone's like the same sort of conduct as Link, just talks. So I'd say he's just a character that talks within some of those type formats. That's the pitch as far as what's going to happen. This kind of spilled over in like the aspects of like the end of the episode. So I just would say subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night and stay tuned for some more of these. They're on the way. Well, just going on YouTube, this is Acid Roots. This is part 17 of the Mystic Quest playthrough the Beef Ravioli run. So as far as this fair is going to happen, we're returning to this dragon boss here as far as this fair is going to happen. Particularly within the pitch. Now, this boss was not as tough, full bound. I feel like the Stone Golem gave me a little bit more problems, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying that. It makes me question how some of these later bosses are going to kind of turn out. Because, I mean, I have plenty of stocks items. I don't suspect I'm going to go through like the 90 or 93 seeds that I still have left pitches like that. I had to say, but it's just kind of concept as far as it's moreover, it's just the main concept is just as far as saying whether or not like the enemies that are additional with it are going to take out the party members. Because it's just within the pitch. I mean, like I said, Phoebe cannot level up. I think, you know, folks who know this game would probably know within the pitch that the other party member doesn't level up. But it's just the pitch as far as saying. I do probably suspect that Zone within some of these type tangents will probably get to 32 or even 33. I mean, I think these enemies that I'm fighting, these spare fights kind of along the way, are starting to really give him some experience in pitches like that, I'd have to say. So it's just kind of amongst the concept. But, yeah. This is still kind of a puzzle game within the aspects behind. I think we actually do minorly get to the next area. I don't know if I filmed it after completing this boss, but basically, I mean, this is a shorter episode, shorter than I was expecting. It's only 5.5 minutes within the pitch behind, but I look after here. So more segments of these will get to like the stationing, the happening, and just kind of underneath the pitch as far as saying that we're just gonna it's kind of amidst the goings on, we're going to get to some more of these. I mean, yeah, just typical kind of Final Fantasy summer, some of those type pitches, even though it seems it's full bound. I mean, I've had at least 3 summers trying to get through this game as far as this pitch kind of happened, 2018, 2022, and now 2025 is the pitch as far as saying. So it's not, I mean, I'm going to have the gumption to be able to get like these last 2 bosses after this. I don't suspect the puzzles anime, even if these puzzles do kind of get tricky with an aspect. I mean, it's the penultimate area of the game, this next couple videos. So it's this pitch as far as saying, you know, I'll just look up the information. I'll at least screw around for a little bit within the next couple episodes, but if it really gets to be tricky, some of those type aspects, I'll just fuck around and figure out what to do. So this is the pitch, but I don't suspect, like, this is we're probably about, in terms of like the actual Beef Ravioli episode, that's going to be like 55 minutes or so. I'd say probably within the pitch we're about maybe 12 minutes in. I don't know if it's full bound to be. I mean, shout out, take a drink of beer. It's actually 12 minutes, something like that, when you see this. But it's just the pitch as far as saying this aspect of just being able to suppose about it. But yeah, just looking after here. Good type fair with this particular game. I don't know. I mean, I started to like the fair about this game later on, as far as those fairs would kind of happen. Just the pitch, just the relative mellowness about this game, just kind of being a great after hours kind of product, and just the pitch of just having like a Little Caesars Pizza, Domino's, some of those type pitches at like 10 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning, some of those type fairs. It kind of made me hungry for some of those type moments. I mean, I think, you know, within the pitch, I would like to do another game like this within some of those type formats, but I probably would suspect if you think this game took a while to beat, I would say don't even get me started with Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VI, some of those type ones, because Chrono Trigger's the larger game in this game. I doubt it. I tried doing that game back in 2016 and I canceled it because I knew I probably never would. I mean, it's a classic. Definitely enjoy that game. It's just the pitch as far as saying probably would not do it. I mean, yeah. Within the fair, and then Final Fantasy VI, same thing. I've tried multiple times to beat that game. I usually get to World of Ruin, which, I mean, that's just an overall excellent game within pitches like that, but there's just so many side quests, and just the intricacies of trying to get through that game is just, I get distracted way too often within those pitches as far as just not wanting to do it. I mean, it is a classic, but it's just kind of pitch as far as saying, and then it'd probably be the same thing with some of those other type games like that, like, you know, like talking about Capri Sun and Secret of Mana, some of those type games, pitches like that. But I look after it, just within the pitch as far as, so I look after just within the pitch, like, but this is a staple. I just look after it. I mean, this is just a constant kind of product. I think this within the aspect behind it, it's not super commonplace that a ton of folks really fuck with this game as full bound. I mean, now that this game is like almost 35 years old. It's just within pitch as far as saying this is a pitch. It's not a super common one. This is not like Super Mario World or Donkey Kong Country or like, you know, the Zelda, some of those type ones that just gets like the most immediate kind of attention. So it's just kind of pitch. It's off the wayside, but it is a nice one. It's just kind of secondary type one within the pitch as far as saying, just has some kind of notoriety about it just within the aspect. It's just, I don't know, it's just fun little game here. I look within the pitch, but I can't really seemingly find a replacement. These next few games, like when I get back to Unit Racers, that's just going to be kind of the pitch as far as saying that it's just extra type fare, or that's just, that's more what you see is what you get in your face type stuff. It's just one of the pitch. Yeah, this is the area. This is what I'm talking about. We'll see what particularly happens with some of this. I suspect the boss is going to be a royal pain. We'll get towards that later on as far as this first happens. This is the pitch as far as saying. So subscribe for more fun things. What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So this would be part 18 of the Beef Ravioli run of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest within those particular fairs. So last time we completed the volcano boss and got to this particular Wind Castle boss as far as what's going to happen. Now luckily I have completed this segment, so there's a number of episodes that are going to be spawning here. I probably could have made this one a little bit lengthier, but it basically wound up being like a 35 or 40 minute scenario within some of those type pitches, but I didn't feel like breaking, or I didn't feel like having this doing like 2 or 3 long ones. So it's just one pitch. It's just going to be a series of these. Get used to this area for a bit. This is definitely like when I was initially kind of saying and such that this might have wrapped up in like the next 4 or 5 episodes. It might be a little bit longer than that, because basically we do get to the Dark King, and after completing like this Wind Castle boss, which I think it was Pazuzu, that was his particular name in like the original format when you fought him in the normal fashion of the game, but just being able to say within the format as far as saying you look after it here, I'm not really for certain if I did not go forth with like the castle after that to see if the final boss has like a dungeon also, or if it's just you go straight to the boss. I'm not really sure. It's full bound. We'll find out. But for now, these next 3, 4, or 5 episodes are going to consist of like fighting the Wind Castle re-up as far as those pitch gaps. It's just the pitch as far as saying, but yeah, I look after it here, kind of within the pitch within it. So yeah, just some bona fide type extra stuff to kind of get within these fairs behind it. This would be a good concept just to swing by and get like some goodies pitches like that, just extra type fairs for like that particular concept of it. Just further kind of dominoes and things like that type fashions, I'd have to say. But yeah, I was recording this a few moments ago and I just had a few errors with it, but just within pitch as far as saying I look after just being able to say, just like a Zelda game, some of those type errors, like when you think of like games where you get tricked or duped in a particular game, it's just the pitch, but then when you realize what you're supposed to do, I don't know how games do that. It's strange when you think of like the fashion as to how, like I don't know if it's just because you're supposed to be thinking with the right side of your brain and you're thinking with the left in some of those type fashions, but it has the orientation. I don't know, there's just something about like Zelda and Final Fantasy games when you look within those pitches as far as saying that somehow when it's just in hindsight the puzzles should have been simple enough to figure out, but somehow they're just always to the naked eye kind of just not as commonplace kind of available within the pitch behind it, which is just kind of the concept behind it. I do think there's folks that are properly stationed to be able to pick up on some of these type clues, but I don't know, just the pitch and that's the particular concept. This would have been wound up being shorter, but as a result you're going to get a little bit lengthier of like a playthrough for this particular type stuff, just because the format that I basically wasted 14 minutes. There was this particular gameplay segment that's half of the episode I did in the first place is wound up just being kind of the pitch behind as far as those fairs going to happen with it. So it just kind of happens to be the ratio as far as paying attention to how those fairs going to happen. But just on top of that. But yeah, and not just that, there's some other segments in the next few episodes, and by that I mean the next couple gameplay segments within the pitch that were like 15 or 20 minutes also, but within the pitch the boss is not that like of a cakewalk either, and it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying the problem with it is I had to reset the machine a couple of times just because I look after it, because I didn't want to waste all my seeds and cure potions and those sorts of things within the aspect as far as this fair is going to go. So I just look after it as the concept. I want to make sure, I don't know how tough this final boss is going to be. I realize I have plenty of these potions and things like that left, but I don't want to go through these particular volumes of this particular world again within those aspects as far as just being able to say it. So I just have to say amidst those pitches that it just just the basic fare is as far as trying to get towards it. But I would definitely suppose within the fashion that it should not be that much of an issue to really tackle this final boss, but it's just the factoid as far as saying that just depending upon how you know how to handle like these types of Final Fantasy games and pitches like that. I mean, I will say that the second coming of Pazuzu within this particular game, he's not as horrible just because you look after just as far as being able to say that fighting him compared to when you fought him in the tower, where he would jump from stage to stage, is a little bit different. But it's just kind of like a mild annoyance, because I learned, and I remember somehow paying attention back when I did it back in 2022, that you cannot attack the Pazuzu boss when he particularly has his shields up, because it's just an automatic death, and it's just because that resulted in a game over, which you'll see in the next episode, or the next few episodes, and it's just kind of the pitch on top of that, that basically means that there's not, I mean, unlike like the Mario role-playing games, pitches like that, where you can have like a defense, I mean, you can actually defend in this, but it just kind of feels weird, just because every time I tried to defend, the boss would take off his shield, and then I would waste a turn, which was kind of annoying within those pitches, but it's just kind of the format as to how that particularly going to happen. So, I mean, I realized within this fashion that I want to say that the Final Fantasies for like the old Nintendo, the ones from the 80s, some of those type pitches did not really have the defend option. It is kind of like a new era type thing, where it's just, you basically have to waste a turn, and if you are at perfect health, it just kind of, there's nothing you can do, because if you attack, I mean, you can't use attacks or magics, there's really nothing you can do except waste a potion or something, which seems kind of stupid, I would think. It just doesn't make sense to have an enemy that would make you do that in the game and just assume that you have to heal or something when you don't, and then you don't really have any options of anything to do in the interim. So it's just kind of it basically means that you're either wasting an item to heal yourself when you don't need to, or you don't have anything you can do because you can't attack. It's just, so I don't know, I just feel like this particular game is a little bit ill prepared for that particular format. I mean, there is a defend option, but it just felt weird because you don't really see the sense of like getting that particular concept, because I mean, every time I would try to defend, that the boss character wouldn't attack the characters anyway, so it's just that just made it extra annoying within those concepts, so you can't really even tell if the defense mechanism is working. Just really happened to be the appeal, but or the lack of appeal. That's the concept of it. It's just it's idiocy, but you just look after it. I mean, it was just kind of the pitch as far as getting towards it. So I just would say, well, you'll see that in like the next few episodes. This kind of pitch as far as trying to figure it out. But yeah, this did kind of dupe me within these particular fairs. But there's more of these on the way as far as those pitches can happen. So subscribe for more fun pitches like that. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night. I would definitely say stack up on some of these goodies here. Get like a round of chips. Go have, probably more extra rounds of pizza, some of those particular type of products, crack open a few beers, pitches like that. So yeah, subscribe for more fun. Have a wonderful night. What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. This is part 19 of the Beef Ravioli run of the Mystic Quest playthrough as far as those fairs going to happen. So in this particular episode, I've been trying to get this episode belted out for a little while now, pitches like that, but particularly I don't know what was the mishap from before, but I am going to get this wrapped up now within those pitches. So it's just the fair as far as saying particular concept about it. Last time kind of got tricked in this particular episode. Now you'll see what I'm talking about by the end of this particular episode, but the sesh about it was I recorded about 15-17 minutes, something like, or maybe it was even 15-17 minutes, something like that, across these two episodes, part 18, part 19, of trying to get to the win boss as far as those fairs can happen. But I look after it here. The boss is not actually as difficult as he was in the original tower, which I think for the most part, the pitch behind most of these bosses when fighting them is just the fear that it's just the nostalgia fighting them more so than the actual aspect of the terror. I just would question, but it does make me wonder how the Dark King's going to turn out within some of those pitches, as to wondering how tough he's going to particularly be. I question if there's going to be a dungeon with him, because I don't know. I mean, I have seen this game played through a few times, but it's probably been over 10 years since I've full bound and have seen that, so it's just one pitch as far as saying, so it's just the pitch as far as getting towards it, but it's going to be a series. I don't know if I said this in part 18, but there's going to be a series of these in this particular wind tower area as far as those first going to happen, but we'll get towards it, and then we'll get some more of these belted out within those particular type of deals. So it's just the pitch as far as saying the particular grind sesh that this goes along with it. I mean, really, these enemies are not that terribly difficult. I mean, it seemed like they gave me a little bit of problems, but the main thing about it is they have some status effects in here. The thing about Petrify, as Phoebe is petrified right now, is just the fact that if you lose a party member when one of them is petrified, it's game over, because it's just the thing about Petrify is there's no way of curing it. It doesn't wear off, which is kind of the pitch you would think in some senses. Like in certain Final Fantasy games, if you get turned to stone or something like that, they just attack you until it wears off or something like that. When you think of other role-playing games, but just with the pitch, if you get petrified, that's it. And it's just kind of fair. I mean, maybe Final Fantasy VI is like that as well. I don't remember his full bound. There's like some ones like Doom. I used to really hate the Doom spell as far as those pitch can happen, because that would put like a counter on you, and you'd have to have like a heal spell, and if you didn't do it, it would just automatically kill the party member. And there were certain ones, like maybe that Doom gaze enemy, something like that, one of those type of ones that would do that pretty often. Was just the pitch as far as saying there's not that many status effects in this particular game that are that annoying, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying it's just one to watch out for. It's just if you get petrified, you have to pretty much make sure you either heal the other party member, or you have to pretty much not die with the remaining party members. It's just the pitch as far as saying that. So it's just the fair, but yeah, this particular area tricked me as far as those fairs gonna happen, just with an aspect behind it, just like a typical Zelda game, something like that. Some of those particular type conducts of it. I mean, I want to say the Illusion guy is probably like that as well as some of those type ones, like. Yeah, those particular type games, I mean, those are wicked games. I mean, when you look after just paying attention to the extra type fair, some of those type ones from 30, 35 years ago, pitches like this, it's kind of the fair as far as saying there's a lot of these, like, those, I mean, these are just like winning gems. I mean, within the pitch behind, I mean, these games have always been expensive when you pay attention to the fair behind it. They've always wound up being like $60, $50, $70 somewhere in there to get some of these even used, but they are pretty much worth it. Now, I realize the concept when you talk about like newer games and pitches like that, like there's been folks out there that are not liking the concept of like the new Nintendo machine costing like $190 or $100, probably $100 with tax for like these particular games for these fairs going to happen. But the thing about it is folks are just jacking up the prices on basically everything. And I don't know why, like when I bought Chrono Trigger back in like 2010, 2011, pitches like that. I mean, I've owned that game in the past, but when I bought it back then, it was like 55, maybe 45, 55, or 65 bucks. Now, this is kind of the pitch as far as saying it's just the conduct behind saying within that particular fair. But the reality of it is, you know, that's what you would pay for, like, back in those days, you know, 50 bucks is what you would have paid for an Xbox 360 game. And it's just, I mean, it's just strange paying attention to that particular type fair as far as, like, the concept. I mean, I get it with some of these more expensive type ones, but for the most part, any game that's not going to cost probably more than 45 bucks is probably not a game that you'd want to play. And it's paltry within that concept as far as realizing that. Like, I'd probably say this game for folks who are seeing this, if you're trying to fuck with this, I actually did get this game for pretty cheap. From what I remember, I think I paid actually like $15 or $17 for this. I'm glad, obviously, because this is a gem here. This is a pretty classic game. It's just the pitch that this was actually one that the price is not as jacked up on. It's kind of the fair behind it. I mean, nowadays, most of the dealers have kind of figured out the concept as far as which games are good versus which ones aren't. But, you know, at least within certain fashions, not every single, like, old Super Nintendo game is going to cost that kind of much of, like, a hefty price tag within the pitch. But, yeah, you're supposed to, when you enter this saga here, you're supposed to just go to the right. You see those windows there, that's what you're supposed to figure out. And I didn't know that last time within those pitches, but yeah, plenty of those games from back in those days. I mean, obviously the big weight ones like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, some of those type ones, but paying attention to other ones like Sunset Riders is pretty, I mean, for the most part, these folks have figured it out. It's just kind of pitch as far as saying, but the games are worth it. I mean, there's plenty of these games. Like, I would easily say for folks who really thoroughly enjoy this one, I don't know what game I would do. I made a playlist for thinking about doing Illusion of Gaia, but I just don't think I would ever get it completed. Probably, I mean, that could take more than 5 or 6 years for me to even do it. I just don't think I have, like, the full-bound kind of attention span to commit to doing that particular game. I mean, I'd like to at least, it is a classic, and I will admit that, but it's just kind of fair as far as saying it is the gesture, is the having the patience to want to do it. It's just the pitch. I mean, these are excellent type games, just the conduct of it, but yeah, just being able to say, so yeah, just walking out the edge, of course, takes you back to this area, and then you have to get out of it in those type pitches, but just kind of the conduct behind it, so there probably will be another one of these belted out soon enough. There's enough room in July to get some more of these done within these pitches, so it's just kind of the format as far as saying, but I do get this figured out later. We will fight the wind boss. It was actually not as horrible, like I was saying. It's just the concept behind it as far as this fair is going to happen. Just the pitch. I mean, obviously, like I said, I learned that you don't want to attack him when his defenses are up because it's just an automatic kill, but other than that, the boss is really not too terrible, but you'll see that as we get to him as far as this fair is going to happen coming within these next few episodes, pitches like that. So subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night, and subscribe for more fun. What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So this would be part 20 of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, the Beef Ravioli run, as far as what's supposed to happen. So last time we got caught up here within this particular area, and it's just a pitch as far as saying that there is progress in this episode. We do wind up tackling like the wind bird boss as far as those pitches going to happen, but then the fair behind it. But getting to this next particular area is kind of like a D2D type moment when you think of Carlos Mencia, some of the folks that folks remember that particular show that he had back in the 2000s. But it's just kind of the pitch that, like I was saying in previous episodes, Zelda's pretty good. Like these ones for like the Super Nintendo and Game Boy, some of those type pitches kind of had the fair as far as tripping up folks just with that. It's just good product as far as trying to teach you to think laterally a little bit within those fairs, which is just kind of the product. It's good aspect. Some folks just have more affinity kind of for puzzle type video games, pitches like that with a little bit quicker ratio, but it's just the pitch as far as saying, consider my product. I think you know by the fair of when I particularly played through, I realize that this is kind of like, I don't as commonplace kind of advertise like the prospect of, downing hella beers. I do, at least we'll probably talk occasionally about beers, pitches like that, but as far as like the concept of ganja wherever you're at, whether or not it's legal, some of those type fairs, it's just an extra type product that is having that smokish type fair within the extra aspects of it, but just kind of the pitch as far as saying, I just question how many smoke-bound type folks would probably appreciate the ratio of smoke into this particular game and being able to figure out the puzzles. It'd probably blow your high a little bit, I'd have to say, but I look at the tone. But yeah, just back to the ratio of this game. Just real, good aspect here. The wind boss. I had a particular previous recording segment as far as what's going to happen. I was basically talking about the fact that the wind bird, you don't want to attack. I don't know if I said this when I fought him back in the wind tower back when I played through that area back in 2022, but you don't want to particularly fight that sort of boss when he's in defense mode, because he can particularly one-shot your characters, and it's just the aspect that you only get 2 chances within it, and he's just overall pretty strong still. He is the penultimate boss in the game, and the fact of it is the leftover remnants of this boss, he's still relatively tough. It's just the aspect as far as saying the fact that you can tackle the final boss in this game when you're at level 31, considering that I just question for folks who actually get to like level 60 or level 85, something like that. I assume it probably goes pretty much to level 99, obviously, but it's just the pitch as far as saying, it'd probably be within the ratio for folks who went to that ballistic nature of doing that probably you wouldn't be able to knock out like the boss, which is called the Dark King within those pitches. You'd probably be able to knock him out in just like 2 or 3 turns if you're willing to go to that extravagant extent of doing the grinding. But it's just the pitch as far as it. Some folks actually will do that. And that's the key to like games like Final Fantasy, is if you can do like the countless grinding pitches like that, for the most part these battles are probably not that significantly tough. Even when you think of some of the tougher type ones out of like Final Fantasy 7, like most people will complain about the fact, I realize on my channel just don't hold your breath, like I've said with the Final Fantasy 7 playthrough. At least this one's going to get done, but for the most part it's not very commonplace that I complete Final Fantasy games. It's trying to have the full bound patience, but obviously at the end of that Final Fantasy 7 playthrough, were it to ever be completed, you're going to have the Sephiroth fight, and then you just would have to say within those fairs as to how particularly tricky. I just question, even if you got to like the final level in that game, whether or not he would have still some difficulty within those fairs. I think even if you did, regardless, obviously by this stage, considering that it's been almost 30 years, I think most folks know that Ares dies within those pitches, but it's just the fair as far as saying, even if Ares gets to level 99, she's still going to die within the pitch. It's kind of fair, but I look after it, it's kind of the product as far as saying, but it would have been nice within some of those type ratios if they would have had alternate endings, kind of like Chrono Trigger did. You would think within the fairs, I realized with Final Fantasy 7 being a 3-disc PlayStation game, some of those type pitches that they are trying to compact a lot into it in the first place. Probably would have been pretty tricky to remember that across a 3-disc. I think if it had been on like a Super Nintendo game pack, something like that, they might have been able to pull it off. But I wonder how they would particularly do that. I think there's probably a way of designing within the game design of the disc as far as what's going to happen. But as far as having, I think Final Fantasy 7 probably does have multiple endings, but I just question. I think that was one of the big things about most folks within those fairs as far as just trying to stay wanting Aeris to not die within some of those fairs. You just look within the tones, it's kind of the product as far as that, but it was just a big component just because you look after it, just the fact that, within that, it's just kind of the pitch that, a character dies within some of those fairs, just an aspect, was just kind of the tone. Just a good way of keeping things interesting, just the aspects behind. But I look after it, just being able to say within some of these type pitches. This particular game, this is like the tediousness about this particular game is really kind of awesome within a pitch, just because I look after it. It just has a fun kind of frustration that's kind of like games like Tomb Raider, and kind of like games like, I feel like Metal Gear Solid, the VR missions was kind of like this as well within some type of aspects. It's kind of the tone as far as saying that it just gets irritating, but it just is fun just because it's just, the frustration level about this game is just so enormously high within those pitches. I mean, it's just such an obnoxious game, but I look after it. I mean, it's actually pretty basic. I mean, there's other type ones, just, obviously, I mean, I realized me having like the full bound patience, like I'd say, pretty much like I said before, I was kind of thinking almost within certain aspects. I don't know if I said this previously across some of these type fairs within these videos, but I thought about doing like Illusion of Gaia within those pitches, but I just think within the format it's just highly unlikely that probably within solitude of it that I'd probably get that done within any real kind of distinct ratio of something that would be within that setting. I'd have to say it was just kind of the fair as far as like yeah, I just would have to say, I mean, the particular frustration about this game is pretty clever within the aspect behind it, but there's just not a super ton of games like it. So once you actually do complete this game, if you are looking for just like long-winded kind of pizza nights where you just have like a couple Little Caesars pizzas, something like that, going from 6 o'clock p.m. to like 4 o'clock in the morning, pitches like that, it's kind of within the fair as far as saying, I mean, I would definitely recommend the Super Nintendo Zelda game within those pitches. That's a pretty nice one as well. There actually is like a game that's kind of Dungeons and Dragons, like I forget what it is, but there's tons of these games. One that kind of has the same sort of view like this particular one right here. I forget what it's called. I mean, I might put it in the connotation or something like that as far as this is going to happen, because I did actually, the video used to be on Twitch and I luckily downloaded it. I don't know if it's still available nowadays, but it's some person that got deleted from YouTube, and particularly there were some games that he left over on his Twitch that just got abandoned, so it's just within pitch as far as saying, but he particularly played he played some of those type of games. Now obviously the thing about it is I mean, a lot of these games, the style factor about some of these, if you're used to like more kind of sleek type games, Grand Theft Auto type fairs within pitch, that these are type ones where it was kind of within the aspect of this is just kind of a campy type game within a pitch. It just kind of has more camp type aspects within the ratio of it, the funny factor and things like that within pitch. This is kind of the ratio as far as saying, but I look within the tone. There was something else I was trying to get to here within the tangent. I lost track of what I was going to say within these pitches, but this, me more or less being able to say, it's just a good type fair within that. I look after it, it's particularly having the fair, but I don't know if I would play through that particular game within the aspect as far as those tones going to happen, but I looked after the fair of what that game was called that I was talking about earlier. Basically, it's called Arcana or Arcana as far as this pitch going to happen. I'm going to put it in the connotation, but particularly, yeah, I feel like a game like that should basically be all over Twitch as far as this pitch going to happen. It just has the same type of appeal. This is a real easy kind of dozing off and getting cozy kind of game within some of those pitches. It's easy enough where you could probably find yourself eating like 6, 7, 8 slices of pizza, something like that, down in like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beers, something within those type of ordeals, especially on like a lazy kind of bare bones kind of Saturday night, some of those type of ordeals. I kind of thought that's kind of one of the complaints about Twitch. If you've seen some of my vlogs, I'm like some of the vlog channels I do, I've talked with Jackal Goldkick about this in past, one of my YouTube pals within some of those type fairs. There's just not a ton of complaints. And that was back in 2021, 2022 within some of those type pitches. So it's just kind of the fair as far as saying, but yeah, just some extra type fair here. Archon is pretty excellent game. Maybe I would do that. I'm not as full buncher, but yeah, subscribe for more fun. Yes. Subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night.